What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Strackbine, joined every Monday and Wednesday by my main man, Steven Thompson. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talk or subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. Today, we are talking about a huge name that might be headed to the Pittsburgh Steelers that they have some reported interest in, and minicamp is underway. The last 3 days of Steelers practice before we take the final break before football season has arrived, and we are off to Latrobe. It's a rainy day here in the Berg, but much needed rain. Like, it is ridiculously hot in Pittsburgh the last couple of weeks. You're coming back from a wedding. The Thompsons took over Bronx?
Brooklyn, New York.
New York. Beautiful. Yep. How you feeling, my friend?
Feeling good. I think the hangover has successfully passed. I sweated that all out yesterday. There's no more tequila left in Brooklyn, just so you're aware. We drank it all. So if you're looking for some, I'm sorry. But no, it was a great time. It was a lovely ceremony. I like my family. I love my two cousins. It was a great time. And it's really funny seeing like the cousins that are my age start to get married. It's like, oh man, this is people are getting older, man. This is a lot, but
that's scary. That's scary. What? So your cousins were 23, got married?
Oh no. They're like older than me, but like
I was gonna say, I was like, don't panic.
No, but you keep going down the line of like succession. Yeah. It's like we're getting close. It's bearing down. Like
you're running out of names before people are just gonna look at you. You gonna get married anytime soon? It's like, nah, I'm actually I hang out with myself a lot, and it's it's rather fun.
I'm just a kid. I'm still a teenager.
The fact that you said that hangover is only, what's a hangover? How long is it? Because I was hungover last weekend. Just literally party, or not even a party. Our neighbors invited us over for a fire, and I decided that why would I have one bottle of cider when I could have three? Right. And the hangover lasted until about Tuesday afternoon. So what's a hangover for you?
Well, they're certainly much worse than they were when I was I was in school, but I don't know. They weren't that bad, honestly. So like, I have a friend in New York that I was seeing that I saw like at on Sunday after everybody kind of cleared out. Visitor killed some time before my flight, and I think it took me until my flight was real late. It probably took me until I had boarded my flight at 9:00 last night before I was like, "Oh, this is clear. I feel fully like this is behind me."
Yeah, you feel good to go. That's not terrible. One full day, I feel like, is acceptable. And it, you know what I mean? Wake up the next morning. Like, I got buddies who like wake up at 8 a.m. and they're just like, "Yeah, man, I feel terrible, but I'll be ready to go." And I'm just like, nobody talked to me for 3 days minimum.
Sometimes it's just kind of like you just got to power through, but like
we're all adults here, like that's you just communicate less and everybody thinks you're miserable, which you are, but you don't mean to be. You just move on with your day. It's called being an adult. Right. Easy. But I'm happy for you. I'm glad. Shout out to the happy couple. Wish them nothing but love and a great marriage, I guess. I don't know what to say on those things.
Same. Right. I agree.
Yeah, no idea. All right, let's talk some Pittsburgh Steelers football. There is a major report out there from Jeff Hartman of Behind the Steel Curtain that the Pittsburgh Steelers are in on Washington Commanders defensive end Chase Young. The report also claims that they obviously have to figure out how to accommodate Chase Young's salary cap. It's a little over $10 million this season. It's the last year of his deal. He was declined the 5th-year option, so the Steelers would have to rework a long-term contract with him if they decided to stay. A lot of questions. Compensation's obviously in there. Alex Highsmith's future's in there. Where Chase Young would play is it? There a million questions come with the report of the Steelers being in on Chase Young. You are the rumor, the report. I think Jeff deserves for this to be credible, but at the same time, there's a lot of questions that come with it. Do you think it's got traction? Do you think the Steelers, because there's a difference between in on and just like making a phone call and being like, "Hey, is he available for a 5th-round pick?" Nope. Okay, we'll talk later.
Right. I was gonna say, I think this reads to me more as Omar Khan just doing his homework, doing his due diligence, and looking into what it would take. Yeah. I don't know how serious it is. I don't think it's something the Steelers are or this is a player that the Steelers are really pressed about getting. I don't think it's a position they're really pressed about bulking up or adding, a real big name like Chase Young.
Yep.
I would feel really confident going into the season with the group that they have right now, kind of led by TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith, obviously. I think the other question is like, it Chase Young is a big name. Is he better than Alex Highsmith? Like, is he
No.
an upgrade over, like, he'd be what, your third defensive end,
Hmm.
your third outside linebacker? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's worth a $10 million cap hit in my
Yeah,
book.
and a trade. Like, what is the second? He's a former second overall pick. He's still on his rookie deal. He's dealt with injuries, but it's not like Chase Young is a name that you're like, this guy's a bust. We'll give you a 4th-round pick for. Like, you're giving up a 1st-round pick for Chase Young. That's
Yeah.
probably most likely what you're going to give up for him. And I agree with you. I don't think he's better than Alex Highsmith. And I think that if you brought Chase Young in, that's exactly what he is. He's your 3rd outside edge rusher. And like at that point, there's questions that come with that, because what are you doing with Marcus Golden? And we don't know what Marcus Golden is in Pittsburgh yet, so I get that. But Nick Herbig is a name that the Steelers want to work out. He's a rookie. He obviously have hopes for him. He's been impressing at minicamp, and I get that the pads aren't on, but still, it's early impressions. You're just like adding a bunch of questions, kind of. There's always that phrase. It's better to have more talent than not enough talent. But sometimes you find yourself in a predicament where that talent is just too much talent. Like you don't want Alex Highsmith and Chase Young to compete for a starting job, because that's Alex Highsmith's job, and he's
Right.
really good at it, and he's a really good complement to TJ Watt. And the longer that those two play together, the better they're going to get with each other. He's going to be cheaper than Chase Young on his next contract. It just makes a ton of sense to let Alex Highsmith be that guy with no questions. And Chase Young brings all of those questions. There will be fans that just religiously tell you Chase Young should start over Alex Highsmith if he has a bad game. There will be people who are immediately out on Nick Herbig. Marcus Golden probably doesn't even have a roster spot anymore. Too many questions. I think that that's the biggest concern with them. And then you get into, like you could create $10.6 million in cap space, but are you giving up a 1st-round pick for a guy, or even like a 2nd-round pick at best, I think, for a guy that's going to be here for a season? Are you going to sign him to a long-term deal and say, hey, you're our 3rd outside linebacker? Here's a huge contract. Like, that doesn't make any sense either. Like, people are questioning Alex Highsmith and whether or not they should pay him because they already paid TJ Watt. There's no way you pay all 3 of them. That just doesn't make any sense at all.
Right, and I'm not throwing all of these resources behind 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
What would likely be 1 year of Chase Young. I
Yeah.
think there's also a reason that Washington is kind of out on him and shopping him too. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think he's exactly lived up to kind of this generational pass rusher talent that he was kind of billed with when he came into the league. And obviously the injuries are a big part of that. But I don't know. It would be a lot to throw behind someone who's not a sure thing in really any sense of right. Like, just from where he would play to how much he could produce to, is he an upgrade at certain position at a certain position? None of this really makes a whole lot of sense to me. So that's why, I mean, like I said, or like you said too, like if they can throw a 5th-round pick at the problem and get Chase Young, go for it. But that's not, I don't really see that happening.
No. And here's the thing. This was brought up to me the other day, is Chase Young kind of gives you like Jadeveon Clowney vibes, like supposed to be this generational talent, so good, unstoppable, real good, really good at one thing. For Jadeveon Clowney, it's like he's a really good pass rusher, but like not really. Chase Young's kind of like the same thing, and he's gonna bounce around. Like, it kind of gives you those vibes where it's like Jadeveon Clowney's been from team to team. He's been a journeyman, but he's been paid well everywhere he's gone and played like the next tier down of his paycheck. And Chase Young right now is going to be that same guy. And I think that Chase Young has, if he could stay healthy, has an extremely bright future ahead of him, and could be everything that we thought he was going to be coming into the NFL. And he's still so young that you have to, I'm not going to kick him while he's down.
Right.
But if he's on that same trajectory, you're going to just pay a guy to be an outside linebacker 3, to be that 3rd edge rusher and have that 3rd edge rusher potential. And you're just not looking for that in Pittsburgh. Like, you have a guy in Nick Herbig that you hope turns into that. If not, you have Marcus Golden, you could continue to work this. Like, you could go out and draft a guy in the second and the third round for the next 5 years, and one of them's going to stick. You will eventually find a guy that allows you to be that third edge rusher. You don't need to go spend a boatload of money on this guy. I think that, to be honest, like, I think that the reports, I think that somebody made a phone call. I think that phone call got shut down rather quickly. That got out, and it got out as the Steelers are doing their homework and they're in on Chase Young, and they probably are, just like they're in on every single person who's available. I'm sure that they call if you're not a quarterback, I'm sure that they're making a phone call and saying, hey, what's the price? Sounds good. We're out. See you later. That's who he's a quick to the point type of guy. When a 5th round pick got turned down, I'm sure that it was just like, you know what? Let's see what it is. But I just don't think it holds much ground. I think it's a tough predicament to be in if you're Chase Young. But I also think that, like, they did this to Payne last year, 2 years ago, right? Like, they declined his 5th-year option, and then they gave him a boatload of money. And maybe that's what they're going to do with Chase Young. Like, I don't know. But the Steelers did. I mean, over last week, the end of last week, they had the 5th best odds to land Chase Young. I think it was like 8-1 odds. And like, there's got to be something there,
Right.
Vegas. I trust Vegas more than I trust any report ever.
Yeah, that I would agree with that. But yeah, I think you make a good point about the Jadeveon Clowney comparison. Like, I feel like every third off season or something, there's always like 6 segments on SportsCenter every day about like, oh, who's gonna land Jadeveon Clowney, and then season comes around and he's like a non-factor on whatever team.
For Cleveland. Like, that's for the last couple of years. It's like Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney.
Ooh, that's scary.
Like,
it's like,
I forgot about Jadeveon Clowney. Won't lie to you. We're mid game. Totally forgot he was on the field.
Right.
Like, no, he's not. He's not elite. And right now Chase Young isn't either, and he's not worth $10.6 million and whatever trade compensation you got to go get him. But wish him all the best, and I think that other names were in there. The report also claimed that they're out on Dalvin Cook, which I'd like to also acknowledge. Anybody who thought that they were in on Dalvin Cook, I don't know, where he's going to play, but it's not going to be. I mean, maybe fullback. Like, I don't know. I don't know
turn
what
him into a slot
with.
receiver or something.
Like, whereas, you're just not going to put wide receiver, nothing but running backs on the field all season long. It's just Najee, Jalen, Wildcat, every single play. Kenny doesn't even have a job.
Right.
Just
out on quarterbacks. We're going to make a whole offense out of running backs, and Najee's our left tackle. Najee's our left tackle, and Alfonso Graham is playing some slot receiver.
Oh yeah, Monty the Mullet's lining up there next to Connor Hayward, and there it is.
Yeah, there we go.
There it is. That's the backfield. Yeah, could work. No, that one makes absolutely zero sense. And actually, I talked about it the other day. Hurts Najee Harris, because I think that if you're Dalvin Cook getting released, Najee's future with his next contract is scary.
I didn't even think about that. That is crazy. Like, if you're a running back, you're sweating. Like, this is a big year for you, honestly. You got to kind of prove that you're – well, but honestly, though, you also don't want to have too good a year and, demand some more money because –
Yep. That's what I'm saying. It's better to be cheap. It really is. It's better. You'll have a job, and, like, if you're a running back and you're making $9 million a year, like, that's almost the sweet spot right now, because anything over, chances are you're going to get cut or you're not going to get signed at all. And, that's a tough spot and Najee's going to be old. Like, it's
right, because Zeke hasn't been signed yet, has he?
Nope. Zeke's still on the market. Leonard Fournette's on the market. Kareem Hunt's still on the market. Kareem Hunt doesn't even have the baggage. Like, he doesn't even have the miles.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Still on the market. Josh Jacobs and Saquon are both under the tag. That's two. Like, Josh Jacobs led the league in rushing last year. Saquon was 4th. Both of those only got franchise tagged.
Yeah.
I think they're both 25 years old. Like, Dalvin Cook's 27 and he's the healthiest. He's a terrifying time to be a running back. Not going to end up in Pittsburgh. Just
at a time, like, I can't remember what the exact stat was, but I remember hearing last year, like, passing on to, like, I don't know, I want to say it was like pre-1960 number. Like, people were running the ball a lot more last year than they have in a really long time. So, like, running backs are more valuable than they've ever been, been in a long time. And still, you're getting guys cut left and right, like really good superstar players.
Yep. It holds no value. It's tough. It's a tough time to be a running back. And you, like, think back, I said this on Friday, you think back, like, us growing up, or at least me growing up, like Willis McGahee played until like, into his 30s with like I remember this guy that like listening to games and they'd be like, McGay, he's out here running with broken ribs and he 200 yards and he's 30 years old. And I'm like, that would never, Fred Jackson played until he's about 40. Adrian Peterson still might be in the NFL. I don't even know. They're like, and then something switched.
Frank Gore was like that
Frank
guy
Gore.
for me when I was growing up.
Yep.
Yeah, that was because he only retired like a couple years ago, maybe.
Yeah. And I don't even think it's been 5. I don't think he's up for the Hall of Fame yet. And that's, now it's like 27 years old, you're done. Career's over.
Right.
Like, you're a backup making minimal money. That's wild. Najee will be pushing 29 years old when he comes off his rookie deal. It's a tough time to be Najee Harris. I know. Friends, family, and loved ones, I bet you haven't purchased a Father's Day gift yet, have you? Not to fear, the leaders in below-the-waist grooming are here. I'm talking about our friends at Manscaped. They're saving the day yet again with the total package for the father figure in your life this year. It's time to upgrade his game from waist to face with this exclusive offer. Have him join the 8 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get 20% off plus free shipping with our code Steelers20 at manscaped.com. Let's start with the ultimate Father's Day MVP, the Performance Package 4.0. Inside this package, he'll find their signature Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, brand new Weed Whacker 2.0 ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant, Crop Reviver Toner, Performance Boxer Briefs, and a travel bag to hold his goodies. And we can't forget about the moneymaker. Manscaped has absolutely changed the game with their new Beard Hedger Pro Kit for fathers around the world. Including in the Beard Hedger Pro Kit is the beard shampoo and conditioner, beard oil, beard balm, and 2 free gifts with their signature beard comb and scissors. We all know dads love their comfort. If his grooming routine is already dialed, make sure to hook him up with Manscaped's Boxers 2.0. These are without a doubt the best boxers for men of all ages. Whether he's mowing the lawn, taking out the trash, or golfing in the sun, these moisture-wicking boxer briefs breathe without breaking a sweat. Get 20% off plus free shipping with our code Steelers20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com, and all you have to do is use our code Steelers20. Make this Father's Day one he won't forget with Manscaped. All right, let's talk this week ahead for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Minicamp, final 3 days of practice before they take the final break, and we return to Latrobe, St. Vincent College. Very excited to be back there. Hit up Sharky's, hit up a little food here, a little town there, have a good time. Some storylines that you're looking for this week as we enter minicamp and the last little bit of practice before we move into this final little break here.
Well, I think what's at the top of my mind is really the defensive backfield, specifically the corners and that, like slot corner, nickel corner type position. They've got some options there, and some new names, honestly, that are like shooting to the top of the list after some good practices. Elijah Riley is a guy that I know you wrote about this week, a guy who looked really good last week. Do you think that he is maybe a real contender with, Duke Dawson and Chaden Sullivan for that slot corner spot?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. The thing is Chaden Sullivan's obviously going to be the favorite as of right now. But me and you both talked about, it doesn't really come here with a bunch of impressive numbers. Like, he's not really a guy that you're like, oh, this guy's instantly there. Elijah Riley looked real good. And I talked to him last year when he signed with the Steelers off the Jets practice squad, like in the middle of the season. He played 4 games. They eventually signed him to the active roster. He was a safety, and like just pretty much primarily a safety. I talked to him the end of last week. He told me that he's playing just nickel pretty much. He still knows every position on the defense, but he's playing pretty much nickel. They want him to compete for that slot job. He's got experience there. That's where he played in college. And he said that what he kind of prides himself on is he's got an ability to rush off the edge that he doesn't think anybody else in Pittsburgh has, which I think is huge because, that gives you Mike Hilton vibes, you know what I mean? Especially if you got Patrick Peterson, who's going to be like that cover, like, if T. Higgins is in the slot, Patrick Peterson's going out there type of guy. You need somebody who's going to be able to rush the quarterback. If Elijah Riley could do that, that's huge. I also like that he's moved down because Elijah's always struck me as a very talented and smart guy. Like last year when I talked to him a couple of times, and even watching him in the small limited time that he had in practice and in games, you could tell that this guy like understands. Like, he's from Army, so those guys
Mhm.
to me always kind of,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like I'm just like, these guys know, they're as discipline gets. To play safety last year, you have to learn the whole defense, which I think is
Mhm.
huge. And then to move into the nickel, you get to focus on one position while also understanding the entire defense around you from the year before, which I think gives him an upper hand. Plus, it's his second year. Duke Dawson's his second year too, but he different story. Only played corner, now kind of moving inside. I think Riley's a name to definitely watch in the slot. I think another guy who impressed me as well is Luke Barku, who told reporters last week that he actually had a couple of big plays, pick six at one point against
Oh.
Mitch Trubisky, which is huge. Yeah, this guy's only
Mhm.
24 years old, comes from the XFL, never made it in the NFL, but comes back. I think he's a sleeper, kind of like Hakeem Butler took over the XFL signings for the
Right.
Steelers. Everybody's like, oh, this guy's going to be awesome. Luke Barku snuck his way in here, impressing. I think it's really tough for anybody on the outside to make the roster,
Yeah.
but I think it's a name. I definitely think it's a name to watch in competition with like James Pierre and those guys.
Really, really, even pushing James Pierre, because I feel like James Pierre is a pretty not established, but I think he's a guy that the Steelers really like, and that's just like what makes you say that Barku was able to do last week, or is James Pierre maybe not? You're not as impressed with him.
No, no, I'd say it's more off Barku. Like, I think that at this point, you look at it like Barku's 24. I think the biggest misunderstanding is that James Pierre is 27. So,
Mm.
like the
He
youth of
kind of
his
is.
career is
He's
here,
is
but
what he
like,
is.
yeah, he is what he is. He's here. This is what you're going to get out of James Pierre. Maybe he's going to get a little bit better, but he's not going to get a ton better. Barku comes in here and he's 24 years old. He hasn't really landed on an NFL team extensively yet. He made some plays in the XFL. He played inside and outside, which I thought was really nice. This is a guy that you can mold more. This is a guy that still has some upside. You know what I mean? That you could look at and say, well, this is pretty much like he's a rookie. That at this point he's pretty much a rookie. If he comes in here and he continues to impress, like, you got to look at him and say, do you take the guy with more upside, or do you take the guy that you're more
Mm.
comfortable with? And I think James Pierre is a very capable corner on the outside. Like, if you put
Mm.
James Pierre out there in a do or die situation, because injuries or whatever, I'm not saying he's not going to get the job done. I think he will. But again, like, for your final cornerback spot, are you looking for that like minimal comfortability? Or are you looking for some upside? I think Barku's got a little bit of upside there.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think the defensive backfield is probably the most interesting. Just not even just how the corners are all going to shake out, but I think how the safety snaps get split up, and like how those
Yep.
guys like kind of all fit in together with each other, like between Keanu Neal and Peterson and then Minka and KZ. I think there's a lot of moving parts back there that, and there are so many guys who I think could contribute in like a really like if you would be really comfortable with most of those guys being in the starting
Yeah.
lineup on week one.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's, like I've been on a 2K kick. I
Oh
try
yeah.
to bring video
Mhm.
games into here as much as possible. Yeah, been on a 2K kick. Have a 2K roster right now that is just like a bunch of, good but not great, like all
Yeah.
like 80 average guys, and every one of them plays like 6 minutes,
Yeah.
and it's just and I just
Fresh
think like
legs, man. Yeah,
all
that's
the time. Yeah.
yeah.
And if the Steelers want to utilize that and have fresh legs at all times, like, that's the best way to stay healthy. That's the best way to keep your defense fresh. And that's the best way to continue to make moves without, taking too much of a risk. And if everybody's good, everybody's good. So I think those are two names to definitely watch in minicamp this week. I would like to see, a little bit more. And I think the other thing is like with the defensive back, it's like a corner or it's like a wide receiver. Like there are not many positions that can impress you in helmets and shorts. Cornerback is one of them.
Yeah.
So if you are going to impress now, it's a little bit of a head start.
Yeah.
I do feel pretty good about it. There's two other spots that I'm very interested to talk about or to look at it at minicamp. Connor Hayward, excuse me, said at the end of last week that he could beat quote unquote any linebacker in the NFL. And I'm not going to say I don't believe him. I think I do believe him. I want to see it. Like I want to start to see Connor Hayward everywhere. I want to start to see the utility, Swiss Army knife of Connor Hayward, put him in the slot, put him in the halfback, line him up at tight end, maybe play a little running back. I just want to see him everywhere, and I want to see him make plays, because if that's the the key, if that's what he truly believes, like there's a part of me that thinks Connor Hayward could have a little bit of like Wes Welker in him. You know,
Okay.
not super athletic, not super fast, doesn't really, you know, he could be a game changer, but there's nothing about him that like stands out and screams, oh, this guy is, but he's just very reliable. I think Connor could be somewhat used in that same realm. I mean, you are very familiar with the Wes Welker days.
I am.
So
I am.
yeah,
He was Julian Edelman before Julian Edelman was a thing. He was
Julian Edelman.
He was a great Patriot. He also killed us when he was I think he was with the Broncos at the
Bronco.
very end of his career.
Yep.
Yeah, traded. Those Broncos teams were really annoying. They were like with Peyton and Demaryius Thomas
Demaryius Thomas.
Yeah.
That Ronnie Hillman was over there.
Yeah.
That I lost my first ever sports bet in one of those matchups. I bet it was Brady's. I don't know. It was like Brady like had like one ridiculous year, and it wasn't the year that Denver won the Super Bowl. It was the year before where they made the Super Bowl, didn't win it, and they were playing New England in the playoffs, and I remember I had $50. Like I was still in school, like in high school, I believe, and I had $50 cash, and I was like, we're doing it. Found a bookie. Put $50 on the Patriots to win. They lost. I didn't bet again for like 10 years.
Hell yeah.
I was like, this is stupid. Why would
anyone do this? This sucks.
Yeah. I was so mad, dude. I was broke. I couldn't buy lunch at work the next day. I remember I was so, and my dad just like made me, he was like, I told you not to bet on sports. It's a bad idea. You know, and nowadays he
showed him.
If you check my FanDuel account, I have not. He has definitely been correct the entire time. But that's my first ever sports bet. But that's who he gives me those vibes. I would like to see him be utilized everywhere. I'd like to see him start. Like I'd like Connor Hayward to be a headline this week and to be like, oh, okay, this guy's in the mix. You know, Calvin Austin was the guy last week. Allen Robinson's made some plays that have stood out that we've talked about. I want to see Connor Hayward be that next piece to say, oh, okay, yeah, let's talk about this guy.
Yeah. I would really like to see something from Connor Hayward, like really anything. I feel like we heard a lot about what he could be and all the potential he has. It hasn't really materialized outside of like a touchdown catch against Atlanta.
Yeah.
It was a nice catch. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know. There's a lot of talk about what he could be, and I kind of feel like I need to see it to believe it. I know you're I know you're a Connor Hayward believer, but I don't know how there I am yet. I agree. I think the potential's there, but like unless it actually can get put to work, I'm not. I'm gonna reserve some judgment about Connor Hayward. I agree. Because like I think there is also an element of if you have 3 positions or 2 positions, you don't really have one. And I feel like they're trying to shoehorn him into an offense that just might not have room for him. I don't think he's necessarily a bad player, but I'm really unsure of where he fits in.
Yeah, I get that. Like, you know, people got to remember he's a sixth round pick. Like he's a year into his NFL career. Like just me as well. Like, you know, I think Connor Hayward could be very good, but he's a 6th round pick and he's the 2nd year in the NFL. Like, and he doesn't have a position. You know, there are obvious concerns, and I think a little bit of like overhype for a guy. It's like the Mark Robinson. Like you got to pump the brakes every time you talk about him because you're like, you got to remember this guy's a 7th round pick who's a 2nd year in the league. Like,
right?
It's gonna be a learning curve, and it's gonna be a long one. And I think Connor Hayward kind of falls into the same way. But you know, minicamp's a good week to watch that. Training camp once we get out to Latrobe will be. You know, that's the all right. Let's see if a linebacker could defend you, because if he can, that's concerning. If he can't,
because
cool.
Steelers got some linebackers now. Like they got some guys who can play. Like he's gonna get tested pretty well at Latrobe, and if he can come out on the right side of those battles, then I'll be the first one to say I was wrong and I'm a Connor Hayward believer. But I want to see it.
100%. I agree. Last thing that I'm looking for is running back 3. At this point, we know it's the Najee Harris show. We know it's the Jaylen Warren show. We've talked about how good both of them look. I want to know who running back 3 is. Does Anthony McFarland hold a lead? Like, is this his year? Is this finally his time to shine? Is Alfonso Graham the guy that's about to start our step up and make some plays. Did you hear over the weekend that he called out Minka last week and
N
got smoked?
no, I didn't. What happened?
Oh, let's see if I can find the picture. They were doing one-on-one drills, and he like a running back, wide receiver, whatever,
Yeah,
or running back versus
like a
defender,
mhm.
and they just just kind of run at each other and try to do a little move, and no pads, and he decided that he was calling out Minka Fitzpatrick,
Oh, yeah.
and yeah, and let me bring it up here. This is what happened when you this is what happens when you call out Minka Fitzpatrick as an undrafted rookie. That's
Ooh.
Alfonso Graham. Yeah, that's
Mhm.
Minka Fitzpatrick. Didn't end well for the Rook at all. It was it was it was a,
Yeah, that looks a little
was a
rough.
yeah, it was a rough play. Definitely a rough play. I would say that he'll probably learn from that one, but I do give him some respect to call out Minka Fitzpatrick on that one. Is it going to be him? Is Darius? Well, I'm blanking on
On
the
the
name.
roster right here, I can look up.
HBCU guy coming out.
Darius. Where
Nah,
is
he's not even going to be on that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was he just signed?
Oh, Darius Haggins. Thank you.
Darius Haggins. Oh, yes. Darius.
Darius Haggins.
Virginia State. Virginia State?
Virginia State. Is he
Yep.
going to be there as well? Who's going to be the RB3? Jason Huntley's still there as well. I need somebody to step up.
I know. Justice for Anthony McFarland. I think Anthony McFarland, I don't know. I don't understand how he's never even, not never earned a roster spot, but like why he's never. I just feel like he's very underappreciated. I feel like there's a lot of meat on that bone. He could really help this team in a couple different ways, like either on special teams, like change a pace back. I like Jalen Warren's got some speed to him, but
Yep.
imagine just giving it to Anthony McFarland on a jet sweep and just letting him run and just say, find a hole and hit it. Like I would really like to see Anthony McFarland get some shine and get a little bit more respect, or send him somewhere where he will. Like I think
Yep.
I think he can play. I really like Anthony McFarland. These undrafted guys, Graham and Higgins, you kind of gotta see him actually play.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Anthony McFarland, I like him. I'm don't have a favorite in this, but I think Anthony McFarland would be, if I'm Mike Tomlin, that's the guy that I think he's my favorite, and he's the guy I'm saying you should win this. Like you should be our running back 3. Like there's really no reason that you shouldn't. You shouldn't let these guys beat you out.
Yep.
But you got to prove it, and you got to really be there.
Yeah, I agree. I think Anthony McFarland. I've been an Anthony McFarland dude. I think that he's capable of so many things. He adds a weapon in the return game if you need it. Like what this guy's able to do. And don't get me wrong, like he struggles in some places. Like he's got very lackluster vision at times when it comes to hitting those holes, and he relies on his speed a lot. But as an RB3, like if you could find a way to rely on that speed as well, like if you could use that, it just makes everything speed. You can't teach speed, man.
Right.
Like you just can't do it. And if you got it, use it to the best of your ability and try to make plays for it. And that's an RB3. Like you're not asking this guy to be on the field ever unless he needs to be. And he proved last year against Indianapolis that he could make plays when called upon, and you're not taking a risk. And on top of that, he's still young. He's like 24 years old. Like it's not like Anthony McFarland's old and coming out here and being like, do we really want a veteran? Like, no, he's not a veteran. He's barely a veteran. He's 24. Right. He's got his whole career ahead of him. Like he's still young, even in running back terms, and he's got no tread on his tires. Like just give him a shot. That's how, but he's, again, like, I think it is somewhat his job to lose, but at the same time, like it kind of strikes me as Mason Rudolph. Like it's his job to lose, but I think that grip, that ice is very, very thin for him to lose it.
Yeah. I mean, that's the flip side of the coin. Like, yeah, I want him to get an opportunity, but there is probably a reason that he hasn't gotten his opportunity yet. And you just wonder how long the Steelers are going to hold on to a guy like this who hasn't, I'm not going to say he hasn't done anything, but he hasn't exactly proven that he is. It's kind of the same as the cornerback conversation, that point you brought up about, okay, I get it. Anthony McFarland's not old, but he's had a couple years. You know, you've
Yep.
seen this guy play a little bit. You've seen him in practice. You've gotten a pretty extensive look at him, I feel like. And at a certain point, you're going to kind of know what you're getting out of him, or
Hmm.
at least you're going to know what he's going to be in Pittsburgh. Maybe a change of scenery changes that, but you have to make an evaluation of, okay, guy we know, guy we're comfortable with, or maybe a guy with some upside or maybe some potential like Higgins or Alfonso Graham.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think training camp gives us more of that once the pads come on. But I think that again, running backs another position you could see a lot of good things. And like we've seen signs in the past, like when Jalen Samuels was on his way out, we knew that in OTAs. Like we were like, this guy's done. Benny Snell looked good. You knew it. Anthony McFarland's looked good. You knew it early. Jalen Warren last year. I mean, that's my thing with picking between these undrafted guys is last year I was so off on Jalen Warren that I'm so nervous to be off again. Like last year I was a Duke. What was his name? It was Mateo Durant.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I was like, this dude is the guy, man. He looks so good. And then Jalen Warren just turned into Jalen Warren. And I was, I've apologized to him since and told him, hey, buddy, I was real wrong on you, but I don't want to be wrong again. So I'm gonna let the play speak for me, and then we'll talk about it with that. With that said, we're heading out of here. Thank you guys so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk, and find us anywhere you get your podcast. Make sure to check out all of mine and Steven's work at allsteelers.com for all your minicamp updates throughout the week, and check out our pick coverage at insidethepanthers.com as well. We will be back on Wednesday. Enjoy a rainy but another beautiful day in the Berg. Peace.